Hello and welcome back to Bookish Brits. My name is Michelle and today I have a video talking, you can see the title of the video, talking about mental health guides for teenagers and young people. This is a video that I've been thinking about doing for a really long time, and actually I'd prepared for this video by last week, reading two of the books that I wanted to discuss for you in this video. And I was all set to film this video on the weekend, and I was looking around for this third book that I wanted to talk about today, and I figured I'd just grab that book off the shelf, film the video, and it was over and done with. And I sat down to film, and I went to the bookshelf and the book wasn't there, and it wasn't on any of the bookshelves, and it wasn't in any of the places that any of my books are, and I ransacked the entire house. I pulled out everything, any possible location that this book might be in, and I couldn't find it anywhere. 2 hours later, and I was sat on my own in my reading chair crying for a good 45 minutes to an hour, and my family were really great. They tried looking for it, they were offering suggestions, and I was just so overcome by emotion that I couldn't do anything for absolutely ages. And it's fine, I calmed down, I ordered the book, it arrived today. I'm filming the video now, but it just really feels like stress has kind of taken over a little bit. Stress about coronavirus and lockdown and the uncertainty of the entire world. And it was definitely one of those moments where afterwards I was just thinking, it just all felt like too much. And it was just a coincidence, I think, that it was over a book about mental illness and a guide to resources and advice to make things better. But I just thought I would share that with you anyway. So mental illness is something that's played a major part in my life since I was really young. When I think about my life, my experiences, everything, it all kind of goes back to a really emotional time when I was around 11, and I think that that's the experiences in my childhood at that time have led on to a lifetime of struggles with mental illness. I won't go into it too much, but over the course of my life I have dealt with anxiety, depression. I've been treated for both of those, an eating disorder, self-harm, suicidal thoughts. There's quite a lot, and it is a lot to deal with. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, mental health awareness is definitely something that I feel very strongly about. I'm hoping to do a series of videos of different recommendations for books that deal with different types of mental illness, but I just wanted to talk first about the different non-fiction guides that are out there for young people. So let's get started. I'm talking about 3 books today. These are definitely not the only books out there. They're just the books that I've read and I have on my shelves. I think I do have 2 books by Nicola Morgan that I've checked out from my library's digital reading app. One is about teenage guides to stress, and the other is a mental health guide as well. So anyway, I read 2 books last week that I wanted to talk to you about. The first of them is this book. It's called How Not to Lose It by Anna Williamson. This was published by Scholastic a few years ago, perhaps. It's a really colorful short guide. It didn't take me very long to read it. Anna Williamson I hadn't heard of her beforehand. She's a qualified counselor and she works with Childline as an ambassador from the mental health charity Mind, and she has a lot of experience helping young people. The paperwork that was sent with this book for review sort of aims it at, I don't know, 7, maybe it was 9 to 11, I can't remember. It was for a younger age group anyway than the other 2 books that I have here, which are probably more for teenagers. This one was a really quick, short guide. As I mentioned, it goes over things like anxiety, friendships, stress for schools. It goes over depression. I wouldn't say that it's hugely in-depth, but I think that it's extensive enough for the younger target audience that it is trying to reach. I really love the use of color and illustration in this. Anna Williamson wrote in a very accessible, relatable way. She goes over some like myth busting things, so discussing some of the things that young people might be thinking about mental illness, and then explaining how or why those myths are either wrong or right. It talks a lot about bullies, friendships, goes into sex, but not in a really explicit way. It's a very self-affirming guide talking about how you can get through things, definitely advising speaking to parents, teachers, somebody responsible, and seeking, I don't know, guidance and help wherever appropriate. It's a really cute young guide for younger readers, and I really did enjoy it. So that's that one, How Not to Lose It. Then I also read It's All in Your Head by Earl. Earl is, and it's a guide to getting your shit together, and this one was really, really interesting as well. It is aimed at young people as well, but probably just from the length of it, an older age group than How Not to Lose It. It's still really, really good. As I mentioned, so all 3 of these books have a great use of graphics and little cartoons and things to really break up the text. I know a nonfiction guide about mental illness it seems like it would be a really heavy, dry sort of material, but it's not. All 3 of these books were really interesting, and I really flew through them. What I liked about this book by Earl is her own, I guess, personal experiences. She's really, I've not read any, so she's written like My Big Fat Diary, which I think had a TV adaptation as well. I've not read anything by her, but just reading her personal experiences in this book made me really intrigued to read something else by her, because she was like no holds bar on some of the personal anecdotes that she included. She's absolutely hilarious, and I really, really, I know it seems a bit strange to say I enjoy reading a book about a mental health guide for teenagers, but I did. I really enjoyed it. She made it entertaining to read about, as well as being really informative about subjects that I think teenagers really need to know more about. I think I didn't prepare any kind of statistics about mental illness in young people. I just figured it was, I don't know, known and accepted that mental illnesses are on the rise, especially within young people with everything that they have to deal with. There's loss and grief in friendships, bullying, the toxicity of secondary schools, sex, relationships, things that lead to depression, anxiety, different phobias. And this book really goes into all of that, as well as eating disorder, OCD, psychosis, self-harm, and also things like social media and what to do or how to help somebody that you may know who is dealing with a mental illness. Really, really enjoyable. There was it was just a kind of a unique way to put across this knowledge using her own experiences. I think that she does have some help and support of a psychologist. I can't quite see as clearly on this one who that psychologist is, but if I find it before I upload this video, I'll put it on in the information box down below. So that's it's all in your head. The third book that I wanted to share with you is this one. It's called Mind Your Head by Juno Dawson, with advice from Dr. Olivia Hewitt and illustrated by Gemma Coral. This is the book that I couldn't find on my shelves, and the one that I had a very emotional response to. Part of that reason is that the difference with this one is that it does have, so it's written by Juno Dawson and Dr. Olivia Hewitt, who is, I don't know, a clinical psychologist, sort of pipes in with some of her experienced knowledge as well. So even though Juno's writing it, it's just supported by a clinical psychologist's perspective. What I like about this book in particular is it's quite a short book. It is illustrated, as mentioned. All three of them are. The way that Juno writes is, again, in a way that makes it easier, I guess, when you have somebody friendly giving you all of this information. Is that it's, the thing that I like about it is that it's really practical. It's filled with like this guide here. How are you feeling, with like different, you can fill out that in, circle the different numbers, how much you agree or disagree. And I've been to the GP before when my mental illness is, you know, when my depression anyway is kicking in strongly, and I've had to fill in so many of those. And I think that if I'd known before going the first time that would be something that somebody would ask me, it would have made me feel a little bit better. Whereas the first time that type of graph was thrown at me, I felt really overwhelmed, and I felt like I was put on the spot, like there might be some right or wrong answer, and I just felt like I was judging myself more, having not seen anything like that before, if you know what I mean. The other interesting thing about Mind Your Head is that Juno Dawson put out a survey that she asked people to fill in, and she's used some of those responses in her book, and some of my responses made it into the book as well. So I'll just read out one section here. It's in the section about eating disorders. So this was obviously a few years ago now. I had a very rocky transition in schooling that I don't feel I was ready for emotionally, and I don't think I had enough or any support during this time. It felt very sink or swim, and I definitely sank. I've had my eating disorder off and on since my early teens, and it's exacerbated by periods of emotional stress, overeating followed by starvation. So I think that when I filled in that survey, I didn't expect to be sharing that publicly, but there you go. That's one one of the entries of mine that's made it into this book. So yes, so again, some of the topics covered are what you would expect. There's stuff about anxiety, stress, depression, body dysmorphia, self-harm, personality disorders, drugs and alcohol, and addiction. It covers a lot of the same topics, but it didn't feel as though, having read any of them, it didn't feel as though it was too much, just because they each had their own approach to the material, and I felt like it really worked for each of them, just reaching a younger audience, I guess, and then having a little bit more depth as the age ranges got a little bit older. So definitely recommend that. Definitely recommend checking in on your mental health, finding ways to get into healthier habits or routines if that works better for your own mental illnesses, speaking to other people, and definitely reaching out for help if that's necessary. That's it for me today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.